Chantel here. I was just live over on try that again, Instagram. That's where I was on Instagram. And then I went to go live on here and got a phone call, which was totally awkward. I can't tell you the details of that call until next week. But I realized that I've been a bit time poor lately, and so I really wanted to do something a little bit differently. This is a productivity stream like Tuesday before, when I got all that photographing done of all that yarn, which was great. This time round, I keep talking about how the sock kits are nearly ready. They're nearly ready. They're nearly ready. So what I'm doing is, there's the colours, but I don't have the grey to go onto them. So what I'm going to do for just a little while is actually do some dyeing. So I've got my pot is ready. It's about sort of filled up to about here with water. I'm going to be dyeing a ½ kilo. Good morning, Allegra. And so I'm going to be doing the fog. So on my socks, I've got the overcast, but I'm going to be dyeing up some of the fog first, and then the overcast, and then some of the storm. So I'll get those done. I'm not going to do them all on the productivity stream. I'm just going to do one batch, which is a good start. It's something to, you know, get done. Good morning, Tara, or good evening, Tara. So over on YouTube, when I was live on YouTube, I popped the dye in and then thought, you know what, I want to go to when I was on Instagram, I popped the dye on Instagram. So this time round, I'm over here. So the dye's already in the pot. I'm about to have to put the yarn in. I've had my Schmexy mask on while the dye was dry. Yeah, and I was testing out my new little video mic thing. So I'm going to plug it back in, all right? And you guys can tell me if the audio is better or not. So hang on, extreme close-up of Chantel's 6 chins. Oops. And then that's plugged in. Can you hear me? So I don't know if you can hear me. Hi, so is that audio better or not better, or can you hear me? I'm not sure if it'll work plugged into a phone, if I'm being truly honest. It sounds a lot the same. Oh, well, that's good to know. At least it works. At least it works. So I probably won't worry too much. So I'll probably unplug that and just use that on my camera. So what I've done is I've got the dye, I had it measured out, I've already tipped it into the saucepan. Excuse my messy kitchen. You couldn't see any of that on Instagram because Instagram has it up on a different angle. So hang on, I'll just move my scales because I don't need those for this bit. I've been soaking my yarn for about an hour in a acid solution. So that's just a bit of vinegar. I'm just looking for my little, I tie on little bits here so that I can hold the yarn while I'm dyeing, because this is, oh, I'm splashing water everywhere. I'm just scrunching it. I need 5 skeins for this particular mix. Don't know what I was thinking there. All right, so that's 2. Hang on. Hi, Anka. We're just doing a productivity stream of me finally getting some more sock kits dyed up. So I've got just about all the colours ready. I think I've got to double check one of the colours I did the other day and make sure I'm happy with it in the mix. But other than that, the colours are ready. But I don't have is the grey. Now I don't have a tie on that one. I'm going to have to go and find some ties because I need to be able to hold on to it. So it's at 3 with ties. There's a tie. Yeah, so I just, you know, I had to make some decisions. I've got some pretty big news and exciting news coming up that I will share next week. But I just had to sort of, I've been pretty busy and it just seems like I'm never going to get to the dye pots. So I'm just doing the grey. Now I've already popped the dye into the pot and it's already got, I use my brain, citric acid. So I've got citric acid powder that I've popped in. I've got the dye that I'd measured out that I use for the fog, and now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hanks, so it's 500 grams of sock yarn. So I'm going to get that in. I'm just going to move this bucket out of the way. I have made it a bit wet in here. I normally put a towel under, but I forgot because I'm washing the towels in the washing machine, so you know. So I like to put one end in first and then dip, and then what I do is I open them out to try and even that colour up a little, and then I just do this a lot. Where's my? I got a jiggy pokey stick, so I like to poke around the bits that I've just got. Now, unfortunately, there was some dye up here I didn't see, and it touched the yarn. So I've got some slightly bits that I'm not happy with. We'll see how it goes. So these ones can go back in the bucket for now, and I need a paper towel. I use a lot of paper towel when I'm dyeing. I find it just to be really good at getting bits off that I don't want around. The hippie pokey stick is very handy. Ah, yes. I did start another stream a bit earlier, and then I got a phone call and I had to hang up. So yeah, and I started one over on Instagram as well. So I'm just trying to make myself dye the grey because I just keep coming up with reasons that I've got other work to do and other things I have to get done and do this and do this and do this. And so I'm just going to tilt this up just a smidge. Sorry guys. Yeah, so, going on. Ah, hi. I don't know what I did. I did something. Oops. My knee still exists. Yeah, today's a good knee day, really. So I'm trying to utilize the time that I have on my knee. So I'm not sure if you can tell, but I'm leaning. So I've actually got no weight on that knee right this second. So I'm just let me just check on this. So we've got to move it around a little so that it dies, because we want it semi-solid, right? I know you can't see in the pot. Hang on. I wonder if I think you'll steam up. How did you get the stops? Stops? Don't know. But yeah, so that's in the pot. So I'm just trying to make it so you're not all, you know, steamy. But I just juice it around. But see how there's some lighter and some darker, and I like that. I do that on purpose. Like, I like the semi-solid, and that's what I like to do. So I'm not 100% certain about this. It's looking a little purpley to me, which is wrong. I may end up with a nice batch of sock yarn to do something else with. Let me just put you guys back over here. So that's got to kind of sit there for a while, which, you know, it's just how it goes. And someone said they liked my shirt, so thank you. This is my go-to trusty dyeing shirt because I have lots of epic fails where I'm like, this is a great idea, and then I do it and it's like, really not a good idea. I wonder if I can over dye that to make it less ugly. Isn't it weird though, when you're dyeing or you're doing something like that and you make something and you're like, oh, I really hate that. But then someone else sees it and goes, oh, that's the best color, and you're like, well, there you go, you can have that one because I really don't like it. Hang on a second. Do I loom knit? I do a little, but not much, if I'm being truly honest. Happy accents. Yes, happy accents. I had this one colorway that I did. It would have been in June, and I really, really wish that I could do it again. The color, the dye cracked, so I got blues and these soft purples, and it really looked like hydrangeas. Kim says, just because you don't like it doesn't mean it won't sell. That's totally true. And I've had some interesting colours that I was a bit like, oh, that didn't quite come out how I wanted, or I thought the tones were a little off. But then other people just really, really loved it. I'm just going to check in the pot again. So, yeah, and it's just one of those things. You just never, like, everyone's taste is different. And that's why we can have so many different people dyeing and so many different people doing all sorts of bits and bobs, because everyone's taste is so different when it comes to colour and style and texture and technique. So die crack is not a repeatable. No, it's definitely not a, well, it possibly could have been if I could remember which die I used to and how I made it crack. So if you're really good at taking notes while you're dyeing and write down everything, and which I do sometimes when I'm working out new colors or new repeatables, I measure how much water goes into the saucepan. I weigh out how much citric acid I put in. I'm very, very, very aware of the temperature and the humidity, because all these things can change how your dye reacts. And then have goes at it with slight different variations and see if I can kind of rough it up a little so it's not quite so time consuming. And that's fine, but sometimes in the lead up to like some big events like Bendigo, like the Redland Spinners Open Day, things like that, I'm just dyeing like a crazy person. And I'm like, oh, this color looks nice. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, look at that. That's pretty. How did I make it? Don't know. So, and I like those as well, because I think it's important to have your one-of-a-kind colors where people know you're not going to be able to recreate it. And they truly, truly have something that's their own, that they really just love. And every now and again, I'm able to recreate a one-of-a-kind. It's rare, especially when it was a color crack. But it's not impossible, but it is time consuming. And so like one of the big things was with these sock kits, like with these rainbow sock kits, was like some of you know, I have no faith in myself. I didn't realize people were actually going to want them. And I wrote the worst notes on how to dye 14 colors. And then I sold out of that first batch and then had to re-dye a second time. Now this is the third batch that we're doing now. The second batch I wrote much better notes and tried to really replicate the colors a lot better, and it took a lot longer because I was trying to match it to an existing thing. So I was just like, no one's gonna want these, and I was like planning, okay, what am I gonna do with 17 of these little kits? I'm like, oh, I'll be able to crochet this really cute blanket with all these little minis. And so I had all these plans that I was going to do with all these colors, and then you guys liked them and I've had to do them over and over again, which it's great. It's really good, but my brain is just like, you know, it's like everybody, no one really expects someone to want their stuff. So yeah, it's just one of those things. So I've learned, this has been my learning experience. I've learnt that I have to, even if I think something's going to fail, I really have to make the effort to plan that it's not going to fail. Like, that's so ridiculous really, isn't it? Sorry, I'm just watching an ant run across my phone. This weather, we've got some really overcast weather here in Brisbane, which I'm truly loving, like to pieces. It's not going to be the best for drying yarn, but it is totally cool and nice compared to last week. Last week was a shocker. So C&M, sorry, I missed that. Just let me just scroll. You're trying to get your business up and running. My advice for you is make sure you love it, because my dogs are going, oh, I really hope that's not a courier. Oh my God, that's a truck. Hang on guys, watch the pot. Say hi. Did the yarn burn? No, it won't boil over, don't worry. I have it set so low, it's not even boiling. You do not want to boil your yarn. You just want to see what the courier delivered. Well, Let me think. Where is it from? It's from overseas. That doesn't help me any. I know what it is. You guys are going to love this. Hang on. There we go. To make the colour set, it has to sort of simmer for about 20 minutes to half an hour. Now, I'll go get in there with that. You're going to love this. Dun, dun, dun. It's t-shirts. We got, ooh, that one's a dragon. That's dragons. What is that? What's that called? It doesn't have its name. I'll have to look it up. So I get some grab bags. So these t-shirts cost me like, I think they're like $6 US each. So there's that one. So it's a T-Fury order. So I get what's called the grab bag. So I just specify my size and then they just pick like a pile of shirts. And sometimes it's a bit hit and miss. Like last time I got a good pile of Christmas shirts, which is good because I need Christmas shirts. But I didn't need 3 Christmas shirts. What's this one? Ooh. I like the grey shirts. What do you think? What is it? Visit the glorious Overlook Hotel at Sidewinder. That's what that one said. And then, oh, this one's cool. I got a Park Ranger shirt. It's a Park Ranger shirt. Check this out. Jurassic Park Ranger shirt. Hang on. You like the dragons better? Yeah, I like the dragon one better too. You guys are so lucky to see this. Where are we? Totally cute. Totally cute. Look. Super cute little dinosaurs. There's little T-Rex. I love T-Rexes because they got the same size arms as me. What's this one? Oh, this is one that I didn't put in the grab bag. So I had 2 that I just straight up ordered and 4 grab bags. So this is one that I actually picked. Next, so this is the last one, which is a nice, it's the Black Knight. 'Tis but a scratch. Ah. Oh. It keeps disconnecting, I'm sorry. Where are we up to? Where did I go? I'm here, I'm still here. So yeah, 'tis but a scratch. There's the last one. So that one and the 11 one I actually ordered. The rest are grab bags. So those ones are a bit dearer when you choose what you want. I'm going to pop these over here. Sorry, I'm just behind the camera. I'm moving t-shirts because I don't want to get dye on them. Okay, so I'm back. This is ready to come out, I think. Let me just have a double check. And I think it is. It's going to be lovely. Alright, now because I have a load of washing already in the machine, what I would normally do is hoik it straight from here, like drain out as much water as I can, drop it into a bucket and toss it into the washing machine on just a spin cycle, just so it dries heaps faster. This particular sock yarn that I get is technically machine washable. I don't recommend machine washing hand-dyed yarn, but it won't felt and it won't fluff up, and anyone who's bought the sunflower sock, they've all been spun in the washing machine, so you know how it feels. So I'm going to get these out and we'll get ready to dye the next colour. But first, I've just got to grab some little ties. I normally keep some just here on the shelf, but there's none there. Hang on. Okay, back. Sorry, I just used up like scrap cotton and stuff as my ties. So I had like a thing. Have you done the greys? There's some grey in there now. So I've just got some, what do you call it? So fog is in there and we're about to toss in some, So, and we're about to toss in some, whatchamacallit, what are we calling that colour? Overcast, the middle one, the one I used in my kit. But some of the yarns didn't have ties, so I'm just fixing that. So we're going to do the overcast first. I'll just get ties onto these. Hang on. I like to have a tie so I've got a handle, especially like when I'm hanging on the line and things like that. It just makes it a lot easier to deal with, like just having something that you can grab onto that you know is not going to break, or like pull your skein out and make an absolute like mess, because that happens. It's also an extra tie. I normally put it on when I'm skeining, but for some reason I missed a few, and I don't normally miss a few. Alright, I have 11 million of these little buckets. I go through them like you wouldn't believe. I'm a bucket killer. Alright, so normally I would dig out the little ties, but the ties in this one are really pale and they're actually grey. So they're going to be near impossible to find. So what I'm going to do with my jiggery pokery stick is just pull out like spaghetti, which is why I use a spaghetti thing as my jiggery pokery stick. Get on it. It's hot, guys. This is not a job to do in summer if you can avoid it, unless you've got your air conditioning on. Alright, that's 500 grams of yarn in there, plus, you know, the fact that it's soaked in water, and I need to top my bucket up a little. So I just top up the saucepan to get it back to the right water level. I've got a line in the pot. And then I will also, there we go, add in a bit more citric acid. I buy my citric acid like by the kilo from the ag supply place. I love all the greys, they're so pretty. I love the greys too. I've actually been finding just excuses to use them because I had a lot of like leftover fog that were like when I was working out how to skein it and everything like that, I had some like short bits that weren't 50 grams. So I put those aside because I don't throw anything away, as you can see, like, you know, dodgy bit of something, but it's cotton, so I can use it as ties because it won't die. I also I've got my little scales that I do everything, but I keep it in a paper towel because they're covered in dye and they make such a mess. Okay, now to do overcast. Where's my little cup? What did I do with the little cup? Oh, there it is. And I just, you can't, hang on, I'll see if I can do this over here. You can't really see what I'm doing. I'm just zeroing off my scales, putting in my amount of dye, give it a little shake up. Now because it's a bit more humid as well, it's really going to, like, this is going to be a totally different batch because there's a bit more moisture in the dye because today is ridiculously humid, and so it's going to throw out the weights a little because when I did this it was exceptionally dry, and so the dye had no moisture in it. There we go. But it's just the nature of hand dyeing. Like, if you can make sure that you're doing everything in an environment that's where you get to control your temperature and your humidity and all that sort of stuff, it would make life a lot easier, trust me. But I don't have that, and I won't have that anytime soon. So I've thrown the dye in, and I've just realised, no mask. I should have had the mask on the second I got hold of that dye pot. So, oops. Like, you really, really should make sure that while the dyes are dry, you're not breathing them in because they are full of all sorts of things. I just give my hands a wash. Yeah, so like I like to wash my hands between just in case I get dye on them. I didn't, but just because I can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And it is, it's full of all sorts of stuff. So you've got to be so cautious and so careful. And I was talking to you guys and I wasn't watching what I was doing, so sorry about that. Not leading by example right there. Talk about danger zone. This is not a how to dye video, by the way. Just want to put that out there. Not a how to dye video, but this is just what I'm doing. So this time around we're making this grey. So this darker grey. This is the overcast. It's probably just about ready. I just like to make sure that because I toss my dye in as powder, or in this case with this particular one it's granules. I do like to make sure that it's totally, like, completely, I can't think of the word. There's a word. I can't think of what it is. Dissolved. Dissolved. I totally dissolved. I don't want to have like a big splotch of like nearly black in the middle of a bit of grey. I mean, it's fine because of what we're doing here, but it's a good habit to get into to not have that happen. Sorry, I just noticed a bit of dye on my bench, so I'm just cleaning it off. Alrighty, let's get some yarn happening. So I'm getting it out of its soaking bucket. So there's 100. 200, that one's a bit of a mess. Can I fix that? What did I do to that? I'll fix it later. See, I normally have them in the bucket in their little hanks. It just makes life a lot easier, but those two I'd pulled out before and realised they didn't have ties. This one doesn't have a tie either. Oh dear. Oh yes it does, you just can't see it. That one's got a tie there. So that's 300. I'm just lining up their ties together so I can just hold them all up together. I'm just going to grab a little mat out of the bath, out of the laundry here, once I get this in, because I've made a bit of a sploshy mess on the floor. And those of you that know me know my knees don't deal the best when I slip. So we won't be playing the slipping game, and definitely no tie on that one. Oops, caught on the drawer handle. Okay, so we've got our little ties all done up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we've got another 500 grams that we're doing. Because that's just the recipe that I sorted out when I first did it. And they're going in darker, and like same deal as before, give them a zhuzh around and make sure the dye balances out a little, and then drop them in, and then give it a jiggery pokery, give it a stir around so that the skeins open up so that the dye goes in the middle as well. Hang on, you ready? Ready to go over the dye pot? Can you see? And I just see how there's dark bits and then light bits. I've got to push that around a little, because while it's fine, I don't want it too contrasting, but I also don't want it to be perfectly solid either. So I'm going to leave that like that. Bring it over here. Seriously dodgy soup. Don't come to my place to eat tea, oops, on dye days. I've done something to the camera now, haven't I? There we go. All right, I'm just going to grab a towel so I don't slip over and wet my thongs. Hang on. Little towel. Soak up all the waters. I probably made more mess than I usually do. There we go. I can just sit on there. All right. It's going to sit there for a while. How many litres of water in that pot? Well, it's a 20 litre pot, but it's not full. So I'd say probably about 17 litres. I have dyed my dodgy hand spun. I've dyed lots of things. I think one of the first things I did was, sounds weird, okay, but I wanted to make myself, it was when I first learned how to spin, and I wanted to make all sorts of stuff. Hey Luke, how you going? Oh, you done your hand spun with turmeric. Oh, what did you use as a mordant for turmeric, or did you just let it stain? It does look a bit like pasta at the moment, Luke. So yeah, so what I did was I had these, like, I didn't know any better, okay, for a start. So in one pot, I mixed in just a handful of silk, handful of Angora, and a little braid of, what do you call it? Just merino. It was just some merino that was undyed. And red pillar box red food colouring with some vinegar, because you do need a mordant. I used vinegar for your turmeric. Did that work? Anyway, so then it was, and it worked, but then I kind of had to deal with all the different fibres taking the colour differently, because so the silk just went and sucked all the dye out of the water, so I had to toss in more dye and water. Food colouring is a good way to learn to dye, because it's really, it's non-toxic. You can use, like, I can't use any of this stuff, like these pots, the pokey stick, the scales, none of it can be used food grade ever again. It's all covered in dye. But when you're dyeing with food colouring, you can totally just use whatever, because it's food colouring, it's meant for consumption. But yeah, it's definitely doesn't work out the best value, because one of those little bottles costs like $1, which sounds cheap, but you pretty well got to use most of it to do, like, you know, like a kilo of yarn. So $1 per kilo is not great value. But anyway, it's a good place to start. Easily accessible. Between that, a bottle of vinegar, and a saucepan, it's really a cheap way to do it. I'm just going to scroll through some here. Hang on. That was Luke. You dip dyed a shawl after I made it. See, I've not done that, because I'm so nervous that after I put all the work into making it, that I dip dye it and I destroy it. I kill it with the dyeing, because, you know, I have no faith in myself. Kim used a blue, and the yarn was a natural colour to start with, so it ended up teal. Sounds beautiful. That's the thing to note, actually, is undyed yarn is not white. You're not starting with a white base unless you buy white yarn which has been bleached. So all my soft bases, they're like this really beautiful, like creamy colour, and my silks are nearly a honey gold. So if you, like, when you're at the shops and you see like cream, that's not undyed either. That is being bleached white and then over dyed with a yellow pigment to make it look cream. So unless you get one of those like naturals ranges where it's all specifically undyed, it's all dyed. I dyed a shawl once and never again. Yeah, see, I'm afraid of that. So yeah, so there's lots of different tips and tricks to dye. It's not a bad thing to over dye white yarn, or a grey yarn even. Like if you get a nice soft grey yarn that you've bought at the shop and you want to over dye, it creates an amazing depth of colour. So it changes, like you'll put a blue over it, but it won't just be blue, it'll be like, it'll have a deepness to it that you probably may not get unless you dye multiple colours. So if you've seen like my repeatable colours, like Colson and Sif and all of those guys, they are multiply dyed. So that's how I get the change in tones. So I'll put, like, they'll go into a pot like this, but they have 5 different colours, so they're dyed 5 times basically to get that sort of colour graduating. I can see at Colson, so I'm going to run over there and get it. Watch the pot. I'll be back. Not actually running, more hobbling. Okay, so this is a Colson. Let's see if we can get some decent light on it. See how it does the multi-tonal colour change there. It's not really focusing very well, but you can see the colours. That's been dyed with like 3 different blues, a black. So that one's had about 4 colours over it to get it to look like that. And yeah, so there's ways to do it to get a beautiful depth. But sometimes if you just want to try it at home, just grabbing a previously dyed grey from the store, like a soft grey, not too dark, otherwise you won't be able to see your colour. Getting a previously dyed colour to dye over is sometimes a really nice place to start, with a bit of food colouring. If you're in Australia, landscapes dyes are local. In the US, you can go to Dharma Trading. They've got some great dyes. But the second you go into like the Dharma Trading dyes, like the Procyon dyes, or the or even the landscape dyes, you need safety. You need gloves. You need your breathing masks. You need pots that you're never going to use for food again. Every single thing, like down to the pasta scooper thing that I use because I'm all technical and crap. None of it can be used for food, and if you're going to dye in the microwave, which I do not recommend, you can't use that microwave for food again. So I cringe every time I hear of these people that dye in the microwave with these sorts of dyes, like food colouring, it's a whole other thing. But when they dye in the microwave and then they use the microwave, the steam that's come off here is in your microwave. A lot of microwaves have that cardboard panel over the element, and that is basically pushing your dye toxins into your food. So no matter how much you scrub it down, short of pulling it apart and removing parts of your microwave, you can't use it for food. So I actually had an old microwave that I used before I realised how much damage it did. So years ago, I used to give it a try. But the problem with microwaves is you cannot control the heat. Like if you're dyeing silk, you get that water up over 60 degrees or 65, you lose the shininess to your silk. It doesn't have that beautiful sheen, which is why we use silk. It becomes sort of dull, and you don't want that. You get yarns up to like where the water's boiling, you don't want the water to boil. You don't want movement in the water. You just want this gentle, see this gentle smoke that's coming off? That's fine, or steam. It's not smoke because it's not burning. You want the steam to come off, but you don't want to see the water rolling, no movement in the water, because then it's too hot. And it can scorch your yarn, it can felt it, it can do all sorts of stuff to it. So you just don't want to do any of that stuff. You're putting effort into something. You don't want to destroy it because you weren't watching the water temperature. So I'll boil, well, I won't boil the water. I'll bring the water up to a really good temperature and then drop it right back to low. This particular element can be a bit naughty, so I tend to just turn it off after a while, just to let it, because that's steaming just a smidge too much for my taste. So that was pretty much, like, I don't know what else you guys want to hear about. I just was getting some work done and decided to go live while I was doing it, because it's just another aspect of what I do every day, between, you know, photos and uploading onto the website and packing orders and reordering stock. And I saw an ad on Instagram, and it was like, are you a photographer? Then you're like, and it started like all these things like accountant and bookkeeper and PR and all that sort of stuff. And so yeah, it's totally the same. Tara's going to do some Kool-Aid dyeing sometime. Yeah, just watch with the Kool-Aid. Try and get the sugar free. It makes your yarn sticky. This has been really interesting. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Michelle. It's just sort of, I mean, I didn't give away any secrets. So I'm going to do a proper how much to use and kind of thing video coming up, probably from a similar angle, but much better production quality, and without the washing machine going in the background. Sorry about that, guys. I literally just realized how noisy it was. But I'm going to get these yarns into the wash, I totally enjoyed watching you Dancing with the Stars and knitting on my sweater. Perfect evening. Oh, wow, thanks. So yeah, so I'm going to get, this guy just needs to sit here for a while longer, and then I'll do the Storm. This is the Overcast in here. I'll give you one last squiz in the pot. You ready? Squiz in the pot. Can you see? You can't see. There we go. It's actually a lot darker in real life than what it looks on your screen. Try not to let you see my dirty stove. Don't look at my dirty stove. Because I'm too focused on other things to be worried about scrubbing that down. Although I'll need to scrub down today after dyeing on it. But yeah, I think that's it. Like, do you have any other questions for me? Any tips and tricks that you might want to know about my dyeing process or how I do things? I'm just gonna, you guys could have told me you could see my dirty dishes. Thanks for that. I was blocking with my big arm. Blocking the dirty dishes. Yeah. Don't forget to hit that like button as well. It actually, believe it or not, it's really helpful when you do that. YouTube, like when you comment in live for a start, none of these comments, because I'm doing this from my phone, none of these will be in the replay. So whatever you're writing, unless I've read it out, no one knows what you've written. No questions. Thank you for showing us a bit about your process. Oh, thanks, Allegra. But yeah, so we're going to be having some cool things coming up at Fiberific, some interesting news about to sort of come. Next week will be another knot tutorial, just so you know. I'll put that out and about in the world as well. Yes, you can totally be naughty with no evidence, Kim, unless I read it, and then there's totally evidence. But yeah, so next week will be another live stream. It'll be a bit different. Possibly not birthday yarn. There is still a live chat on Thursday. This is as well as, but the live chat Thursday will be the standard. I'll probably be crocheting or knitting something, or maybe even spinning on my electric spinner. I'm just notice I'm leaning more. But yeah, so normal live chat Thursday will happen. This is just because I couldn't film yesterday, and then made the decision not to film today because I wanted to get this done instead. Sometimes I just have to make these decisions. I only have, you know, it's like everybody. I only have a limited number of hours where I can work or function. And so I have to think about what's the best way to use that time. And normally it would be a YouTube video, hands down, but I really needed to get this yarn dyed. It's ridiculous. It's getting a bit dark in here. Yeah, I really needed to get the yarn dyed because it's the greys that are holding everything up. Kim has, Allegra says I can't make live chats anymore, being booked for a meeting at that time. Oh, that's horrible. And Kim says she has limited function time too. Yeah, it's hard. I know. I was so happy to drop Abby. Kim just said she's, thank goodness the kids are back at school. I can honestly say I'm so relieved. I love my daughter. I love her to pieces. And I'm just so glad she's back at school. She can be like really... Actually, do you know what the problem is? She's too much like me, and she can be really in your face. So, you know, I've made my bed. I gotta lie in it, right? My youngest ain't at school yet. Also, my husband works from home. Oh my God. I would die. I would totally die. I need, like, before Abby started school, I made the effort just to get out of the house for an hour. Every single week, I would just... It didn't matter where I went. I would go and sit in a park by myself because I needed like time for my own brain to be me as Chantel, not me as wife, not me as mother, not me as chief cook, bottle cleaner, just me as a human person with my own thoughts. And so the only way I could do that was to literally leave the house. Sorry, it's gonna fall down. There we go. Yeah, so I could only I had to leave the house. That was the only thing I could do. So, yeah, I made that effort. And explaining it to my husband that it wasn't about him, like I wasn't trying to get away from him so much as to get away from, like, everything. So, yeah, anyway, that was a fun conversation. I'm totally tilting here. Hang on. Life breaks totally needed. Yes, that's what they are, life breaks. So yeah, so you got to have them. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go and I'm actually going to make a coffee and jump online and print some orders and get that sort of stuff happening while this finishes doing its gurgle in the pot. So you guys have a fantastic day. I will see you all Thursday in the live chat, and you just keep dry, keep safe, and hug your family. Bye.